What up, everybody? This video is to answer a few questions you may have about your new professional hand foiling system. First up, starting with what's in the box. When you get your foiling kit, it comes, the first thing you will see is, we have here a 10-pack of 8x10 gold, silver, dark silver, rose gold, and copper foil. You have 2 sheets of each. This is the variety pack. So you got that in there. That is the first thing you see. Next up, we have another box inside to ensure that your unit is protected. When we open that guy up, you're going to see the user's manual from Razortip. This goes through all the safety precautions and basic operations for the tool. Nothing specific to foiling, but with the tool in general, comments, concerns, and things like that. Then we have 3 sample pieces of leather, a brown, a navy blue, and a black. These are bookmarks, but they can be used as practice leather or anything like that, so you can get an idea of how your machine is working. Then we have the pen. This is the BPH binding post style interchangeable pen. So when I switch to a top-down view in the camera, I will open this up and show you more of what's in here. Then you also will have the standard cord, which connects your pen to the base unit. You will have 3 of the tips that go into the interchangeable pen. You will have the extra fine tip, a fine tip, and a broad tip for broad pen calligraphy. So you get your 3 tips to choose from, and then you will also receive the professional hand foiling system. This unit here, or the power supply as it's officially called, I believe. So now we're going to switch to a top-down view, and I will show you how these pieces all kind of work together. So first up, we have our pen. When I open this up here, inside you will have, first off, the blinding post pen. It has a wire tip in it already, just a standard point. Also inside here, there's some instructions on how to change the tips of your pen. And you also get 3 wires. Now, these can be bent into any shape you want, so you can make your own custom shaped tips if you so desire. So, from there, we can now put in our fine tip like so. Now, these are still in their package, so I'm going to demonstrate this with one of my own that I've been using right here. To do this, all you need is a screwdriver, just a standard flathead screwdriver, to unscrew these posts. Take out the existing wire. Whoops, I unscrewed that one too much, so it fell all the way out. That doesn't matter. Stay in there. Okay. Now, you take your fine point, or whichever point you want to put in there. Now, there is no, in my opinion, right this way or this way. It is personal preference. Personally, I put the curvy side of the tip on the left side, but that is up to you. We put that in there, tighten these screws up. You will see on these posts there are 2 little divots where the metal will fit in nicely so that your tip can be nice and snug in there. Put that in there, tighten this one up. Sweet! Now, if you've seen my videos on Instagram, you will notice that the tip of my pen is bent. And the reason I do that specifically is because when you're writing, this totally works, and this might be good for some people. For me, when I'm going slow and foiling, I tip my hand and I get really close here. So I've personally find, you notice I have my tip coming out at that angle. I like my tip to be coming down straight to the leather. That way it doesn't have as much risk of piercing the leather or coming at a harsh angle. It's flat down, so it's getting a nice even pressure. So I like to bend my tips. The reason I do not pre-bend the tips before sending them to you guys is because this is going to be different for every person. Some people might really like it the way it is here, just nice and straight, depending on how you like holding a pen. If I was going to leave it straight, if I had a grip that was like this, the straight would work a lot more. But I like to go on the side like so, so I like to bend it. So we're going to bend that now. And to do that, all you need is a pair of pliers. They can be needle nose pliers, any pliers. I'm using some round tipped pliers here, but honestly any pliers will work. And I'm just going here, let me get close to the camera here, approximately where that bend is, and I'm just rolling the pen down, or the tip down, just a little bit so that it has a nice bend in it, like so. Yeah, so the bend is happening right there. Now, when I hold the pen and I'm writing, my tip can be flat to the surface and not coming in at a crazy angle. So you can bend your tip like so. You don't have to, but I personally recommend it that way. Once that's done, you grab your cable. Now again, this is a packaged one, so I have one here that is unpackaged. I'm going to plug my cable into the base unit and plug the cable into my pen. That's all there is to that. So once you have your tip installed and your pen is plugged into the power supply, you are ready to foil. So I'm going to turn this on. Now the unit does heat up relatively quickly. One thing that I like to do when I'm starting off, just to make sure everything's heating up nice, I push my unit all the way to 10 really quickly, and I don't know if the camera will show it, but you can see wisps right there. I already see them, wisps of smoke, showing me that it's heating up that fast. Then I drop it down to, like we were saying before, just between 4.5 and 5. So this temperature is ready to go. Now we just have to prep our foil. So I'm going to let the pen sit here for a moment. It's not sitting to heat up, it's just sitting to get ready, or while we get ready to foil. Now we have our 8x10 sheet of foil. I like to cut off small pieces if I'm just foiling something small, just so that foil can go back in the package or in a separate box so that I don't waste more than I have to. Now because we're just experimenting here and this is my sample leather, I'm just going to do a couple quick just lines to make sure our foil is sticking nicely. Do a peel. Oh, that's beautiful. Okay, so now we're ready to prep a design. I'm actually going to cut a piece of foil. Oh no, I'll use this one. So we're going to put this down here. I'm going to tape that to the leather. And you don't have to tape it. As you saw, I did these couple lines without taping. But I find that taping the leather down, or taping the foil down, just stops it from buckling if you're doing a complicated design. Just alleviates some potential issues that may come about. So I like to tape it. Now, one important thing to keep in mind, if you're taping your foil, you don't want to pull it hard enough that you're going to stretch the foil. You just want it to be nice, flat, and smooth. So from here we've taped that down. Now I could go straight at it with my foil pen and just freestyle do some writing. Or if you want, you can take a ball stylus or a pencil or a ballpoint pen, basically anything that has a rounded, not sharp tip, and you can just put an impression in the foil. Like so. You're not pressing hard for this, you're only pressing hard enough to get the image onto the foil, what you're writing. I don't know how well the camera's picking that up. But from there, now we're ready to foil. I'm actually going to put one more tiny piece of tape down. You'll notice as I was doing this, this part of the foil moves around a lot. It's that moving that we want to get rid of, because as the foil moves, it's going to move where your pen is hitting the leather. So we want to keep that as stationary as possible. Alright, I have that taped down. My pen, as we already know, is a good temperature. So now I'm going to foil. Now the big thing to remember here is to keep even pressure. Yeah, I'm going to press down and I'm going to keep even pressure through the entire design. I'm also going to keep an even speed through the entire design. As calligraphers or penmen or artists, it's very natural to release pressure on the upstroke and press down on the downstrokes, and even to go faster on the upstroke sometimes. But when we're foiling, we want to make sure that we are pressing down, giving a nice even pressure so that we're getting good contact, and that our speed is staying the exact same. You kind of got to turn yourself into a computer sort of a little bit. So I'm going to press down, I'm going to go nice and slow through this design. Now while I'm doing this, I will mention that many materials require potentially different speeds or different temperatures or different pressure. Certain leathers and certain materials don't work as well if you press really, really hard. Also, certain materials don't work well if you go really, really slow. If you go too slow and you're working at a relatively high heat, potentially, or you run the risk of burning off your design or overheating the adhesive on the back of the foil, thus stopping it from adhering to the material or to the leather. But in most cases, a nice, slow, even pressure is perfect. It's going to take some experimentation as you're playing, but eventually you will get the hang of it. I promise. There's our F. And we'll do our O. Notice how I'm keeping my speed nice and uniform. Trying not to speed up on my upstrokes like I normally would if I was writing with a pen. Alright, now the moment of truth. We get to peel the foil up and see how it did. There we go. Oh, it's sticking to my desk. There we go. Foil, let me bring that a little closer to the camera so you can see it. Foil. As you can see here, as I was saying, don't speed up. Going from the I to the L, I either sped up a little too quick in there or I released my pressure. It's not terrible, but the line gets a little finer there than the rest of the piece. So I did something different. The more you can keep your pressure and your speed the exact same, the better your outcome is going to be. Now also showing you here, I'll do one more example where I don't use tape at all. I cut a piece of foil here. That'll be good. Now this time I'm going to use no tape. I'm just going to, let me get that other foil out of the way. I'm just going to hold this. Now with my fingers, I'm just going to try to hold it tight. Come up a little here so I'm a little bit closer to the center of the video. I'm just going to hold it tight. And I'm just going to start writing. Now I didn't use the ball stylus to put my design into the leather before I started. I'm just freestyling this one. So we do that to do my shade on the bottom of the F. Just going to come back over and retrace over a few to stretch that line out just a little bit. Nice and slow. Even pressure. And you'll see my foil is moving quite a lot, but as it's the last stroke, I think we're okay. Now I'll bring this up here so you can see it, the peel a little better. We have fun. Nice even pressure, putting some lettering into leather. And you can see where I went over that line and drew it out. It's like you're doing faux calligraphy. Pressing doesn't give you the shade here like it does with a pointed pen. You have to draw in your shades wherever you want them. So there's that. Now, if you want to use, or if you end up using the broad pen tip, for example, it is going to take a little bit more heat than the extra fine point. Not a lot. It's going to go from where we are here to like just a little tweak, potentially going from like we're at 4 3/4 now, maybe up to 5. Again, it's going to depend on the material you're using and the actual power coming out of your wall socket. But the thing that I recommend the most is change that tip, put it in there, give it a bend. As you'll see, where's my wide point here? There it is. So here's my broad tip. It is bent, just like I bent this one before use. I would swap that out, put it in here, give it a couple seconds just to get to temperature. I would maybe do what we did in the beginning, crank it up to 10 and then drop it back down. The cool thing about cranking it up to 10 is it shows you, because it'll usually have a wisp of smoke or something, it proves that it's getting to temperature instantly. That's one of the things that I like the most about this unit. As you're writing, if you think of the leather or the material that you're foiling on is sucking heat out of the tip. So the unit has to be able to replenish heat to the tip as you're going. That's a part of the reason why we go really slow sometimes. When we're using a broad pen, it takes a little bit more heat to get to proper temperature. So you're going to have to do, like we did here, these couple strokes to make sure that your temperature is right. Actually, you know what? Let's just do it. I'm going to turn the unit off real quick. Why not? I'll just do an example of it. Now, all I'm doing here, I'm just pinching this tip with the leather in an attempt to suck all the excess heat out of it so that I can go here with my screwdriver, ideally without burning myself. The tip is still hot, but not hot enough to burn myself anymore. Alright, we'll take that tip out of there, put it somewhere where we won't lose it, put this tip in, and same thing, tighten these screw holes. Alright, those are tight. We can turn our unit back on. Let me see if I can get focus on the tip here. We'll see if we can see the wisps. I'm going to turn this to 10 real quick to get her up to temperature. Ah, there was the wisp of smoke. Drop it back down. We're going to drop it down to 5 instead of 4 3/4. And we'll see if that is enough of a temperature increase. We're just going to we'll reuse this little piece of foil that we used for the word fun. Just going to hold it here and see how our temperature looks. Making my line there and peel. Well, that looks perfect to me. Well, everything got a lot brighter. So there we go. So that's good. Now, as an example, let me drop this down. If it were lower, if our machine was working at 4.5 or 4 3/4, it may not be quite enough heat. It might. So I dropped the heat down to 4 3/4, and you'll see here, notice how this one here, we have nice wide line the entire way through, whereas our second line it ends up sort of tapering a little bit, which is not something we want. Turn it. There we go. So, like I said, working with the broad tip, I would bring it up ever so slightly so that the heat is enough. And we could potentially go a little higher than 5, but 5 seems to be working really perfect in this instance. So then we would write exactly like we would any broad pen. So there we go. There is your introduction into foiling with my professional hand foiling system. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email. I will answer them to the best of my ability. I'm going to be having more videos coming out, getting a little bit deeper into specific techniques and specific issues that people run into. But for now, I think with the information from this video, you can start kind of foiling everything. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. Be sure to tag me or to tag hand foiling, hashtag hand foiling, if you post anything on Instagram or YouTube, and let me see what kind of really awesome stuff you guys are creating. Thanks again, you guys. I will see you later.